Let's get right after it on a Friday. Good to have you with us here on the Ed Schultz Internet broadcast. Coming to you from the North Country, Communication Workers of America, Alliance for American Manufacturing, BioGreen Clean, and the iSafe team bring you this production. Alabama, is there any question about whether the Republicans are going to win the state of Alabama in this election cycle or future election cycles? So I guess you could say that Donald Trump is going into the belly of the beast when it comes to the Republican thought process in the South. Republicans are probably going to win the South, although I know that Bernie Sanders is going to be spending some time down there because he thinks that the economic strife that people are going through in that part of the country may turn them politically. We'll see. Donald Trump is going to be in Mobile, Alabama tonight, and they've had to move the venue because they're expecting some 40,000 people to show up. I find an article this morning in The Root, which I think is very interesting. Tanya Weathersby writes, with his fear-mongering attacks on Latinos, the Republican presidential candidate's tactics are reminiscent of segregationist former governor of Alabama, George Wallace. Replace Donald Trump's New York accent with a Southern drawl, then replace his use of illegals with the N-word, and there you have it. A 2015 version of George Wallace, Alabama's segregationist governor, who stroked fear and prejudice to find place in politics. Now, Trump has played the fear card, but no one's called him on it. Let's go back to what we were talking about yesterday, and I'll get back to Alabama in just a moment. Trump is saying that to take care of American veterans who have lost their limbs, the wounded warriors, to take care of our veterans, which is a big play in Alabama, by the way, Trump wants to go into Iraq and get the oil because ISIS has got it. And then he's going to give the money to those veterans who have been affected by the war. All right. I just want to point out, and this kept playing in my head yesterday, the CNN interview with Chris Cuomo, the morning host on CNN, what Trump said about what he was going to do. And my question was the logistics of it, or do we have the U.S. oil company now? Are we going to give the oil to Chevron or BP or Exxon or whoever the hell we're going to give it to? And how are you going to do this? But this would be the United States going into another country and taking resources, circumventing any thought process or will of the Iraqi people, and giving it to the benefit of Americans. Has this ever been done before? It has. The guy's name was Adolf Hitler. This is exactly what Germany did back in the 30s. Because of the economic strife that was taking place in Germany, an extremist came to power, the agricultural markets had collapsed, people were hungry, and a leader came to power that did what? Provided. And built a military might that was unmatched in the world at the time, and started to take property and land and countries, change people's lives, murder people. Now, I'm not equating Trump to that. But the technique of going into and the process of going into another country and taking their resources for the benefit of your own people, it's been done in the world. It is called a true invasion. The question for Americans out there and all of you followers who are going to be chasing Trump tonight in Alabama, is this the America you want? And you need to give pause as to how would we be viewed around the world? What if Vladimir Putin said, you know what, you got oil just off the coast of Alaska, and God damn it, we're going to start drilling there whether you like it or not? What do you think the United States would do? I mean, you just don't do this stuff. And so is Iraq a mess? Yes, it is. Do we have to fight ISIS? Yeah, we do. But there's processes that you have to go through to make it happen. So it's this detail that's left behind by Trump, which is so puzzling, and the mainstream media gives absolutely no commentary or question whatsoever as to, okay, how are you going to do this? The other issue is trade. Trump says that he's going to lay tariffs and block all financial dealings with companies and countries that want to drop product on our market. It's not that easy. We have trade agreements, whether they're good or bad, that are in place. Now, is Trump advocating that we're going to violate trade agreements and end up in front of the World Trade Organization? This is what the Chinese, this is what our industries have had to do to the Chinese because they cheat. But we don't have any big trade deal with the Chinese right now. We just do open business. So how is this all going to work? Let's get back to the Alabama thing. He's going to Mobile, Alabama, and Trump, here he is, cut 3 on the big list. He's talking about how they've got to move the event for tonight.
What happened is we took a hotel like a ballroom that held 1,000 people, and the company, the hotel company calls us up and they say, we're getting swamped. We don't have enough room for this. And they then took another one that was larger, and then another one, and then they went to, I believe, your convention center, and I think it holds 10,000 people, and within a few minutes we were wiped out of that one because we were way over. And then they end up going to your stadium because that's the Ladd Peebles, right?
Yes, that's
stadium.
Right.
And because that was the only thing that could hold it, and it's become like a happening. It's become an event and a real happening.
Is the Trump campaign at the point where they have no clue how many people are going to show up? It's really like that? Did he really think that he was only going to get 1,000 people? This is a promotional play and a promotional card that's being played by the Trump campaign that has everybody thinking, oh, my God, he's just got so many followers out there. Bottom line is they knew exactly what was going to happen. They're going to pick a small venue and change it to get a news story, pick another venue to change it to get a news story. So now they're going to have a bunch of followers down there in Alabama. What Republican can't get a crowd in Alabama? He goes on to talk about why he is, quote, resonating with Alabama voters.
They know they're not going to be ripped anymore, and they're smart people, and they know what's going on. They know how ignorant our government has been in trade, in taking care of the vets. They do such a poor job in so many different ways. And I think that's probably why you have the crowd, and it's probably why I polled so well in Alabama.
Oh, God. It's unbelievable, isn't it? Trump is just getting away with these bumper stickers. He's getting away with these headlines, but we just don't get the devil in the detail, and I don't think we ever will. And he's media savvy enough that he's going to bounce around in the next debate and not be pinned down in any way. He knows how to manufacture and maneuver. That's the big key. Now, the tough thing for the Republicans is that they're starting to use his vernacular. He used the term anchor babies in talking about the 14th Amendment and wants to get rid of the birthright citizenship. Jeb Bush was caught, I think, flat-footed with this answer and kind of lost his cool in New Hampshire the last few days.
There's abuse. If people are bringing, pregnant women are coming in to have babies simply because they can do it, then there ought to be greater enforcement. That's legitimate, side of this. Greater enforcement so that you don't have these, anchor babies, as they're described, coming into the country.
As they're described. So at a press conference in New Hampshire, he's asked about that.
Did you regret using the term anchor babies yesterday on the radio?
No, I didn't.
Hey, is that
I don't regret it.
You don't regret it?
No, do you have a better term?
I'm not. I'm asking you.
Okay.
Yeah,
you give me a better term and I'll use it. I'm serious.
Governor.
Don't yell at me behind my ear, though.
Sorry about that.
Governor, is that not bombastic language, anchor baby? Is that not bombastic?
No, it isn't. Give me another word.
Undocumented immigrants in the U.S.
That's like a 7. That's not another word. That's a 7.
A hard enough question.
Here's the deal. What I said was it's commonly referred to that. That's what I said. I didn't use it as my own language. What we ought to do is protect the 14th. You want to get to the policy for a second? I think that people born in this country ought to be American citizens. Okay, now we got that over with.
Well, then why use the term anchor baby? I mean, the fact is that the other Republican candidates are being caught so flat-footed by the way Trump is handling the media. They're frustrated. They're trying to counterpunch. They don't know how to do it. Then they end up using his terminology, and then they get themselves caught in a crossfire like that with the media. And Bush doesn't look solid. He doesn't look like he's on solid ground when he ends up being in positions like that. So let's get back to taking the oil from ISIS. This is the soundbite, and I'm not extreme in making this comparison. This is what Germany did back in the 30s. Now, are we actually going to reinvade Iraq and take this oil and then take the resources and give it to the veterans? Is this what the American people want? Here it is.
Well, I'd like to take the oil and I'd give a lot of money to the people to the families of the people that were killed, to the incredible wounded warriors that are all over the place. I love these people. These are the greatest people, and they're living in hell. And I'd give lots of money to them, their families. I mean, look at all the people. We spent $2 trillion, thousands of people killed, thousands, tens of thousands of wounded. We have nothing. Right now, Iran is going to take over Iraq, and ISIS has already taken big parts of the wealthy section of Iraq.
Would it be worth creating more wounded veterans in order to do what you want to do there?
Well, I see what I would do. You wouldn't have that many, I will tell you. I would just take over the source of their wealth. A big source of their wealth is the oil.
You wouldn't have that many. Is that a prediction about how easy it would be? Is that Donald Trump doing his Wolfowitz imitation? The guy's not well-grounded. He's got media moxie, and he is smooth, but when it comes to policy, he's not very well thought out. And, when are we going to get to that? I don't know if the debates are going to be solid enough, or should I say penetrating enough to the point where we're going to totally vet Donald Trump, where he's going to be pressured to give answers and details on things that he's saying. If you go into another country and you take their resource, you're going to be viewed around the world as an aggressor. You're going to create more enemies than you're going to create allies. And Trump just doesn't see it that way. He's playing on the emotions of the American people, saying, well, of course we've got to help out these veterans. Well, how are we going to do it? Well, we're certainly not going to raise your taxes. We're certainly not going to move any money around to get it done, to make it happen to the budget. So we'll just take their oil, and we'll just throw it, I guess, on the open market, and I guess we'll take the money and help the veterans out. Well, gosh, that sounds great. Let's do it. Alabama people are buying this garbage to the point where over 40,000 people are going to show up to listen to Trump, and the story about him becoming the next George Wallace, I think, has tremendous merit.